Hey there, I'm Fox 10 News Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith with your forecast here on Next Weather. Good news. We do have the possibility of some storms around tonight, this evening through about 10 p.m. and then into tomorrow, but we have some drier, cooler air on the way. It'll help us with overnight lows and it'll reduce our rain chances going forward. Our Fox 10 Futurecast indicates that tomorrow we'll have to watch out right near the coast in the evening for some showers and storms firing. We will go isolated with our rain chances as we head into Wednesday afternoon, and then almost no chance of rain by Thursday and Friday as drier air gets in here. We have a low risk of rip currents the next couple of days at the beaches, and the water temperature in the low 80s, so that's great. We just have to watch out for a few afternoon storms. Opportunities for development in the tropics, really nothing out there to be overly concerned with. We were watching one area of disturbed weather off the Bahamas, but that's not expected to organize. Scattered showers on Tuesday, then sunshine finishing out the rest of the week. And look at this. This is where we're in for a treat. Check out those overnight lows. We're getting close to Memorial Day and the end of the month of May, which means the start of hurricane season is right around the corner. We'll have more on that with meteorologist Matt Barentine and meteorologist Jennifer Lambers coming up.
Can I play? Sure, but you need to bring your own truck. That's not a problem.
The Fox 10 Storm Tracker Fleet, taking you live to more places, covering the Gulf Coast like no one else can. Unrivaled experience, unparalleled severe weather coverage.
I think I need a bigger sandbox.
Welcome back. As we approach hurricane season, there are some things you need to ask yourself, like knowing what to ask for to help yourself prepare. Fox 10 News meteorologist Matt Barentine breaks down your risks.
Long before we ever have a tropical system coming our way, we need to be thinking about a number of things. We need to know our risks. Are you vulnerable to storm surge? That's something you definitely need to know. You also need to know if you're vulnerable to freshwater flooding from rainfall. Also, you need to know what evacuation zone you're in, so if an evacuation is called, you know when to leave. So those are questions you need to ask yourself. Now, there's some things that we definitely do know. We are all vulnerable to hurricane force winds. Anybody in our viewing area, even if you're 60 miles inland, you are vulnerable to hurricane force winds. We are also all vulnerable to tornadoes whenever there's a landfalling tropical system. And this is something a lot of folks don't realize, but even when a storm is making landfall in South Texas or Southwest Florida, a long ways away, we will still get rip currents in our part of the Gulf of Mexico. So you always have to be careful. A lot of things that we need to think about when it comes to hurricane season. In Mobile, Matt Barentine, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Matt. Have you ever wondered how hurricanes get their names? Well, wonder no more. Meteorologist Jennifer Lambers breaks down the mystery.
This hurricane season, we have a new list of names from the World Meteorological Organization. Now, some of these may look familiar and some of these may look new, but how did all of this get started? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Why do we name hurricanes? And for simplicity purposes, I'm only focusing on the Atlantic naming system. So let's start by taking a look back. This has been a practice really since the 1800s when some storms were named after saints. Also during World War II, some Air Force men began naming their names after their wives and their girlfriends. But officially this began in the 1950s. That was the first year the U.S. government began naming storms using the old Joint Army-Navy phonetic alphabet. Now, I'm going to talk more about what that looked like in a moment because it didn't go well. And so that's why after 1952, they declared it was too confusing and moved on to female names in 1953. And there was some controversy there, so some major changes happened in 1979, which led to the use of male and female names in a 6-year rotation. Now, focusing more on the old phonetic alphabet, this is what it looked like. In 1950 and in 1951, we had Hurricane Dog. In 1952, there was Tropical Storm Dog. It got confusing. Plus, imagine today having a Hurricane Love, Tropical Storm Item, or Hurricane Oboe or Sugar. Plus, in 1953, a new international phonetic alphabet, what we use today, was introduced. So in 1953, the U.S. government and forecasters began using female names. This also led to some controversy. Protests broke out saying that this practice was ungentlemanly and insulting to womanhood. However, the Miami Weather Bureau said the majority of letter writers were supportive of this practice. This would go on for a while longer until the National Organization for Women passed a motion at the National Hurricane Center's 1969 convention. Again, the NHC said it was a 20-to-1 positive vote for this practice. But then things changed in 1977 when the World Meteorological Organization formed a hurricane committee. At their first meeting in 1978, they declared they would take control of naming practices and would end using solely female names. So this is what we follow now. The purpose? To reduce confusion when dealing with multiple storms. That was the goal all along, but as we've seen, a lot goes into that. So here's a look at the WMO's guidelines. They now use male and female names, and they rotate their list every 6 years. That's why we often have repeated storm names. However, if they're declared destructive to a certain extent, they will retire those names. But just a heads up, Sally was not retired back in 2020. So in 2026, there could be another system named Sally. We also sometimes have names that we're not as familiar with. That's because when a name is retired, the WMO oftentimes adopts popular names from another country that was impacted by that retired storm. That's why we see French and Hispanic names. Also, every year, the A name storm switches between male and female. So there's a lot that goes into all of this, and hopefully this answers any questions you may have about why we name hurricanes and how all of this began. Reporting in studio, meteorologist Jennifer Lambers, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Jennifer. Coming up, we'll take a look at our extended forecast in the long range as we go beyond Memorial Day Monday.
New to the Fox 10 weather app, your 24-hour radar forecast. Be the first to see how precipitation is going to affect your plans across the Gulf Coast. Detailed hour by hour. The 24-hour radar forecast on the Fox 10 weather app. Plus the latest breaking news with the Fox 10 News app.
Got him both.
Stay alert with Fox 10. Prime time is Fox 10 time.
The latest on the night's top stories are first on Fox 10 News at 9.
Wrap up your day, informed and ready for the morning.
All right, here's that extended forecast as we finish out the work week. Big changes, big changes. So drier air comes in here, cool nights, and we have lows in the 60s and highs in the middle 80s into the weekend. And then looking at it beyond Memorial Day on Monday, we actually going to heat back up. So this could be our last cool front of the spring, and we may be more of a summer-like pattern with highs in the 90s into next week and lows in the 70s. The good news is it looks like this little dry air spell is going to hang around for about 4 or 5 days. So this one may be a little bit of an overachiever for late May. Enjoy the great weather. Thanks for joining us here on Next Weather.